I think that there are a lot of concerns from people who live in the area of the old city walls, which is called De Wallen, the old walls, that it's just unlivable anymore. Like many other cities, we've got a housing crisis here, and it seems insane to make one area of the city completely unlivable. The noise nuisance goes on throughout the whole night. People say that they get up in the morning, they haven't slept. It's an all-night party. And people have been saying for some years, actually, this is not Walhalla for tourists. One councillor said to me that he's sick of glassy-eyed tourist zombies staggering around in a haze of smoke. And that tells you really that people have kind of had enough. There is a seamy side to Amsterdam. It's part of the city. Liberalism is part of the character of the city. But there are limits.
Yes. I know that for some years they've been trying to change this, you know, opening up art galleries in the area, trying to sort of gentrify it and slowly move it up. But this doesn't seem to have changed what happens there. So what changes are now on the table?
I think that Amsterdam is trying to send a very serious message to the world. Look, you are very welcome to come here, but please, if you're planning to have a holiday from your morals, a moral vakantie, as they say here, please don't come here. They have been trying to crack down on the red light district for some years, but it's also become quite clear that there is a large problem with criminality in general in the Netherlands, and there are some very opaque constructions. It's quite hard to see who's behind some of these businesses, some of the snack bars, the coffee shops, the cheap hotels, and some of these are upstanding business people, and some of them aren't. And the Mayor of Amsterdam really wants to go after the criminality.
And how hard is that going to be? To your point, it's deeply entrenched within the Dutch society, and I guess the red light district is almost its flagship.
There is a serious effort to do something about it. I think the level of nuisance has gotten so extreme, and also the perception of criminality overrunning the Netherlands has become such a big deal. There was a journalist murdered on the streets, a few streets down from the red light district a couple of years ago, possibly in connection with a major drug trial going on at the moment. I think there's political will to do something about it. Of course, when the local paper goes and talks to the Amsterdammers, some of them are saying the measures aren't hard enough, and some of them are saying, oh, we're losing the liberal character of our city.
So are they going to still allow people to consume cannabis, for example, on the streets of Amsterdam, or is that going to change?
No, the proposal for May is that there is a ban on smoking in public spaces in the centre of the city. So you could still go to a coffee shop where cannabis is sold and sit in its premises and smoke a joint. But they don't want people wandering around, stumbling around with joints everywhere, sitting on the edge of a canal, then peeing on someone's step, having a drink as well. This kind of behaviour they don't want at all. And to your point about criminality, one of the other strange things about Dutch law is they tolerate smoking under a law from the 1960s, but actually, strictly speaking, it's still not really permitted, and growing cannabis commercially is illegal. So coffee shops are taxed, they're licensed, they sell, it's fine, and yet they have to buy from criminals. And this insane schizophrenic situation is something even the Justice Minister says. She tries to tell people about it abroad and they look at her like she's crazy.
Yes, because that sort of doesn't add up. If you can't sell it legally, then how are you expected to acquire it? It's interesting, you know, Thailand recently liberalised the use of marijuana to attract these very kind of tourists. Do you think it's a warning sign, the experience that Amsterdam in particular has had?
Well, for many years it worked okay. I think that there was just a critical mass of tourists that was too great. So last year we hit about 18 million in Amsterdam, and that the council had agreed was a critical level. I think for many years when it wasn't too many people and people behaved a bit normally, it was fine. Some people had a good time, but it was all okay. So it depends how many people land on Thailand. I suppose that because you have to, well, you would have a lot of Western tourists flying there. Maybe that gives a limit. There is concern that budget flights have been one of the problems in Amsterdam, and some people are concerned to try and crack down a bit on that in order to raise the quality of tourists, whatever that might mean.
Yes, given most of them, I think, that they take exception to are from the UK, so it is quite amusing. have they considered like curfews on the city, making sure that people are off the streets by, say, 2 a.m? I mean, it must be terrible if you live there and can't get a good night's sleep.
Well, they're also trying to bring back the opening hours of the brothels from 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. And they're trying to bring back the opening times of outside terraces and cafes. They're going to have a kind of lock-in policy in these new proposals, so you can enter the bar at 1 and then you have another hour to drink up. I mean, we'll have to see. It's got to go before the City Council. The City Council is broadly in agreement, so the policy should go through. They'll come in for the summer, and I guess this year will be a sort of test case. It's also a message to people. Just be aware that people live here. Have a great time. Enjoy Amsterdam. But think about if your mum was living here or your kids were going to school tomorrow. Just be a bit sensitive.
Yeah, it's something. It's a good point for tourists all around the world, not to, to behave as well overseas as you would at home. Senay, really nice to talk to you. It's a fascinating turnaround. Thanks so much.
Thank you.